Well, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us the last day of July here on a webinar, The Authority Gap, What Separates Market Leaders from Everyone Else. Just a quick frame of reference for everyone if you are not familiar with Brandon Hall Group. We are on a mission to empower excellence in organizations around the world through our research and tools each and every day. And we are inspiring a better workplace experience. So that goes for our corporate clients as well as our solution provider clients. This webinar is focused more on the solution providers and the HR technology companies. Just a quick reminder on our awards that are currently open. We do have our HCM Excellence Awards that's going to get announced in 2 weeks. But we do have 3 other programs that are currently open. We do have our Excellence in Technology Awards that's focused on HR, learning, and talent types of organizations, as well as our Education and Technology Awards focused on EdTech. Those 2 programs close in about 5 weeks, and then we have 2 months left for our Excellence in Action that really focuses on 17 different areas of culture, on how you are creating programs for corporate organizations. So those programs are open, as well as HCM is closing or being announced soon. So hopefully you'll participate or already have. Another quick note on interacting with Mike and I. You can pop information into the chat. Let us know what you're thinking. You can also send things directly to us. So feel free to use that functionality throughout this webinar. Okay, so obviously I already said that we're here with Mike. My name is David Forry. I'm a Senior Vice President here at Brandon Hall Group, and we have our CEO, Mike Cooke.
Greetings, everybody. Thank you for joining. Let's begin really quickly with what makes Brandon Hall Group different in terms of how we approach our research. So traditionally, analyst firms have approached doing studies or surveys on what's broken, benchmarking data that's truly just showing blah average performance. Oftentimes it'll be backed by so-called theoretical frameworks that should work, but you're just not sure. And sometimes it's based on what companies say they're doing versus what they're not doing. All right. These surveys, usually from the traditional analyst approach, are usually not taken by leaders of the organization. They're just not. Our approach is different. We just this year have studied 2,500 documented success stories from our award winners this year. This is what we get every year. We have tens of thousands of success stories over the past 5-10 years. And of course, our company's been around for 30 years. So we've seen a complete evolution from the early 90s to the mid 2020s right now where we're at today. We also make sure we're looking at real implementation, like what was done and what was the measurable ROI. Also proven strategies that work in practice. And sometimes strategy is not just about technology, but the strategy may be about change management or culture for an actual program and organization. And lastly, we offer direct access to the leaders who have achieved excellence. We have the world's most influential corporate community in the world. And they are folks from very large organizations, mostly chief people officers, chief human resource officers, chief learning officers, as well as directors and VPs of other areas in the actual business. And just for some of the clients that we've worked with before, this is just a very, very, very small list of clients that have participated, obviously, in our awards programs, but also our institute members, and are also folks that come and speak at our conference. So thank you for all our past clients. David?
Sure. Wanted to dive into a poll question. Ask everyone, what's your biggest challenge in winning deals right now? So if you saw the description of this webinar, that's kind of what we're diving into. So if you can answer, buyers can't differentiate us from our competitors, losing to the do-nothing approach, price pressures, lack of market credibility or recognition, and then maybe a long sales cycle with no decision. So if you can drop that into the chat, it'll greatly help us in the next 20 minutes as we chat through talking about eminence. Perfect. So let's start by exposing what really is happening in sales conversations. When you ask buyers what they want, they'll tell you things like, oh, I want the best features, or I want competitive pricing, maybe easy implementation. And most HR tech companies build their entire go-to-market strategy around these needs. We've analyzed over 1,000 HR tech buying decisions. And what we found is something really shocking, that these stated criteria have almost nothing to do with who actually ends up winning the deal. But what really does drive decisions is, things of like fear of implementation failure. HR is very risk adverse. That CHRO isn't worried about features. They're worried about their reputation when the project fails. The need to demonstrate innovation. They don't feel they don't need the most innovative solutions. A lot of times they're looking for, um, bringing innovative solutions into their organizations. Sometimes they're just trying to do marginally better than what they were doing before. And then, of course, anxiety about vendor reliability. Are you going to be open in 18 months? Are you going to change your product lines? We've seen that with other HR tech companies in the past. Then maybe they get bought and sold and things like that. So there's an extreme worry in the industry about what's going on in the marketplace. And then, of course, you have things like stakeholder alignment, worried about the political dynamics of switching, those types of things. And Mike, I wanted to kind of ask you, because you've been in the industry for 30 years, what happens when the vendors miss these like hidden drivers?
What what happens? It impacts their, firstly from a business perspective, it impacts their bottom line. If you're a provider out there, buyers are going to say they want the best features, functionality, fair pricing, easy time to, from going live to, full implementation. But a lot of times what we're seeing on the provider side is they don't have yet that level of thought leadership or eminence that they have to go through, and they haven't articulated their product innovations and their product roadmaps properly. And I think what that happens is then you create this uncertain environment, selling environment, buying environment, both. And I think that it is very difficult, and it helps, probably is the number one reason why it extends sales and buying cycles.
Yeah, and I think that really leads into what we're really competing against. Most HR tech companies think they're in a battle with direct competitors. Um, you know, Companies that you see in the marketplace that are posting on LinkedIn and kind of right in your space, or you see right next to you at a trade show. But this data that we analyzed when we looked at how organizations are really choosing to go with an organization or what's causing them to lose deals, we're seeing 40% of the time is actually the do nothing approach. Just going with the status quo. Sticking with what they know best. 25% of the time, we're losing to, right here, we said like simple Excel spreadsheets or like internal builds, things that we built together. We see that on the HR side a lot, very sophisticated platforms out there. But at the end of the day, a lot of organizations are still using spreadsheets, and it's not just small organizations. I've seen it in Fortune 100 companies, using spreadsheets for what should really be a sophisticated data analytics tool. 20% of the time we're losing to platform extensions. So, people that say, oh, I have this big HR solution already. They offer a solution that kind of offers me something that's good enough. I'm just going to stick with that. So, we're seeing that quite often. And it's only really 10% of losses are from your direct competitors. And when we talk to HR tech companies, they spend all day worrying about what their competitors are doing. And really, that's just 1 in 10 of your losses. So the real competition, it's invisibility, it's risk, it's, the safer choice of doing nothing. So the question becomes, how do you become the safe choice? how do you become the obvious choice for organizations that are looking for a solution? That brings us to what corporate buyers actually need from you. And trust me, it's not what they're asking for in RFPs. So we call this the trust hierarchy, and it's completely inverted from how most HR tech companies think of selling. So we walk a lot of organizations through this, that are in our Institute platform. We have, I think, 15 or 16 different pre-built guides to walk organizations through things like go-to-market strategy, figuring out their competition, figuring out their product, go-to messaging, creating a marketing budget, those types of things that we talk organizations through. So at the top here, the most important factor is the validation from trusted sources. Before they even look at your features, buyers are asking, who says this company is legitimate? They want independent analyst validations from organizations like ours. They want peer recommendations from other organizations that have implemented it in their industry. So they look for that industry recognition of people that you've partnered with previously. Second, they're looking for evidence of market leadership. Not that you have a solution, they're looking for the solution. They're looking for the best of the best. They're shaping the conversation in the category. And when industry change happens, people always look for that person for guidance. The third is really risk mitigation. And I'm not talking about your SOC2 compliance. I'm talking more about signals that you are still the leader in 3 years, signals that you're going to be in it for the long haul, that you have the authority and stability to become a long-term partner for these organizations. And down at the bottom, product features. It's a very small portion, actually. The most vendors lead with their features. I joked about compliance. I've seen organizations that want to really focus on, hey, we just achieved this compliance rating, and they make their entire marketing pitch about achieving that when really it's just a small part of the plan. So, Mike, what can you share about when vendors really flip this hierarchy and lead with authority instead of features?
Well, I think when they lead with authority, they're getting the validation. They have the third party references, whether it's analysts, other clients. I do think that ROI generation is really important, and being able to sell into learning HR talent areas within a big organization. You do need to understand what the ROI would be of your particular solution, both indirect and direct costs. So, I think that leveraging, for example, our research methodology, our analyst expertise always validates market positioning. Any provider that works with us absolutely sees an ROI. And as part of an institute, because we have thousands of high-level executives from directors to C-level, it helps to place that community with our providers where they can also test messaging and get thoughts. And of course, we connect our clients with our community as much as possible. And really what I like is the competitive insulation of what we try to do with this Eminence partnership is we try to partner with only one company per vertical on Bellwether Reports, and try to create really a protective moat against competitors seeking similar positioning. So it's not just about always being seen. I like to say sometimes providers don't say they want exposure, but what they really need is eminence. So it's really about being sought out as an undisputed industry authority so that it gives your entire team access to at least be able to present and to create new opportunities with potential clients.
Yeah, and Mike, I think you have to really architect it. That's why we have here on the slide architected authority. These companies have to build something that goes beyond the disconnected marketing tactics that I kind of mentioned previously. We've all seen them out there. They've established themselves as the definitive voice in the space. When someone thinks about a category, these companies, they don't just participate in it, they lead it. Where everyone else is stuck in like an endless cycle in circles. But as you mentioned, the brutal truth is exposure isn't authority. And so many times I hear organizations, their marketing strategy is all about, I just need to be out there. I just need to be out there and people are going to see me. They're going to come to me. And at the end of the day, just being seen isn't enough. So Mike, I really like what you said there. It's not just about that exposure.
No, and chief marketing officers are beginning to have about the career life of an NFL running back of a few years, and it's a problem. And we've seen that, the ups and downs of this industry. I've seen it for 30 years. Sometimes people in marketing, they love to spend money. God bless them, but they may be spending in the wrong areas, like doing, too many webinars and not being able to transform themselves into a true industry authority. And that's where they want the demand gen. They get um, promoted on that, they get bonused on that, but it's more than just doing a bunch of webinars and bringing in 1,000 leads. Like, you really need to think about your brand and think about your authority and think about your level of eminence coupled with your level of creativeness and innovation as a company and as a product organization. Those are things that are really important.
Mike, you talked a little bit about some of the components of the Eminence partnership. If we could go to perfect. Thank you. The Bellwether Report, that is all about defining what you want to be known for. And we really tag this organization with being the best at it. We will work with you to define this report. Something that transcends just an ebook that's going to be used as a lead magnet and maybe forgotten in a couple of weeks. This is going to be something that really defines your organization, something that you want to put your name on, architect that authority that I mentioned. That's what we start with the Bellwether Report, and that includes, us interviewing your clients, us interviewing other people in your space. If you sell to chief learning officers or chief people officers, chief human resources officers, we're going to interview them. We're going to chat with them. We're going to put all that information, combine it with our data, and create a really beautiful Bellwether Report. Something that we want to do with you year after year after year, really defines the space. And then we really create a strategic content campaign around all of that. So we're going to support you with lots of different items, whether it's a webinar, a podcast, blogs, it's all going to focus on that one thing that you want to be known for and develop that leadership that you need. One other really interesting thing is the BRIC Summit. So this, some organizations that are talking to us about Eminence, they think of it as, hey, I could do a user conference there. I can do, something I want to be known for and bring together Brennan Hall Group people, my people, prospects and clients, and have a summit. So for those of you who don't know, we're headquartered down in Boca Raton, where Mike and I are currently sitting at IBM's old headquarters. Beautiful space. We have a really nice facility here that seats up to 1,000 people. So we can hold that event for you where we really dive into that. And then also lots of other benefits of being a Smart Choice preferred provider, lots of details that go into that program. Our preferred provider do literally come with a stamp of approval. It's our badge. It's Brandon Hall Group getting behind you, saying that we have looked deep into this program and we can tell you that we prefer this program over others. And as Mike said, we're really trying to focus in on specific moats and focusing on organizations that are different than others. Really allow you to be the only one, really point to that eminence. So there's lots of interesting things here. And if we go to the next slide, I want you to think of this as more a sample. Some organizations that we work with want to do exactly how this is laid out. We know that this has been proven for success, but think of this as an example where in the first 2 months, we are all about foundation building. We are literally getting to know each other. We are putting out a press release saying that you are wonderful, that you are a preferred provider. We're doing what we call a solution provider profile, which means we are talking soup to nuts, everything your organization does, how you benefit from it, but it also has that analyst opinion on it. Not the right word, probably, that analyst perspective on your solution. And all of that is really content gold. We've seen that wind up on lots of people's websites. in social media campaigns of our perspective on your solution. Then, of course, we're getting to work. We're doing all about that establishment of the authority that you seek. So we're going after that specific Bellwether report, doing all the data collection, the interviews, those types of things. But we still want to promote you, so we're going to put out a first blog on the area that you want to be best known for. We're getting a little further in months 6 through 7 with the influence amplification. Don't know why I'm struggling today. That's where we're going out with a coordinated PR campaign to talk about your eminence, really in a coordinated social media campaign, putting out another blog, holding a panel, and then doing a dedicated webinar where we're probably bringing on some of your clients that we already interviewed to really back you up, give you that authority that you're looking for in the space. In month 8 or 9, we are promoting and publishing that Bellwether report that's mentioned. So that's coming out. We're going to have a podcast about it. We're going to start to promote the brick events, those types of items in 8 and 9. And then we'll have that event 9 through 12, where it's kind of a culmination of everything we worked on, and have everybody in person really talking about it, whether it's keynotes, panel discussions, customer reviews, small group talking, anything that you really desire. We've had organizations say we only want to have 20 people there. Then there's others that are like, we want to have hundreds of people there. Whatever it is, we can hold it. We have 2 different types of event spaces at the Boca Raton Innovation Campus where we are. And then the other thing that excites me is we're going to talk about ROI, what worked, what do we want to tweak? We want to start planning for the next year. As I mentioned, that Bellwether report, we want to be an annual thing with you that we only publish with you. So Mike, I did a little bit of talking. Anything you wanted to add on to that eminence?
No, I thought you did, good job. I think the ROI of this can be incredible for providers. We try to, with both corporate and provider clients, we try to provide our clients with a 10x return. So if you're spending 45,000, then you should expect to have 450,000 by month 12 or 13. We do the same thing at our major conferences with provider sponsors. And on the corporate side, we certainly are looking for efficiencies to help TROs and chief learning officers with a variety of their initiatives so that they can save time, be more efficient. But this is really just a great thing. Just every day lately, I've been speaking to a chief people officer, a chief learning officer, and a lot of this is these areas are things that they're looking for too. So it's really truly not just about doing an ebook like David alluded to. It's about actually becoming known, for something where the next time you call a chief learning officer at, say, a Fortune 1000 company, or even a CEO at maybe a small $50 million organization, depending on your marketplace, or even if you're $10 million as a solution provider, we want to make sure that you're getting your calls taken. They should, when they take your call, they should be like, oh, you know what? I saw this ABC vendor edition from Brandon Hall Group. It was really fantastic. I'm going to see what these folks have to say. That's what we're trying to get to at the most basic level. But what we're also trying to do is not just to do things in piecemeal. So you want to have a topic and you want to be able to have a report. You want to be able to speak to people about it. You want to be able to have blogs around it. You want to be able to have something that's really coordinated from a PR perspective. You want to have expert panels, and you want to develop a whole story around what's so wonderful and special about you as an organization. That's how I see it.
Yeah, in addition to what you're going to see externally, we're also going to be doing with you internally. And that comes through our Institute Access, where we're going to give some key members on your team access to seats. If we can just advance to the next slide, please. Thank you. And that comes with all the research. So as a research and analyst firm, we're producing a lot of content on a daily basis. This is very actionable research. As Mike mentioned earlier, we're different. We're always focusing on what best practices look like. So if you want to have best practices in your organization, you don't want to see that only 20% of organizations are doing things right. You want to focus really on the positive aspects, like how can we do that? Maturity curves of how we can get our corporate clients there. And then, of course, your technology is going to help them get there. So all the research is going to be in that vein. We're also going to help you upskill. So professional development, we have over 150 self-paced courses that your team can upskill in the areas of HR, learning, and talent. Lots of great courses that we put together, as well as certifications. So let's just say, some of your implementation specialists, your client advisors, they want to get certified. They want to build programs just like their corporate counterparts that they're working with do. They can actually come in and get certified in their field through one of our 6 credentialed certifications. And in addition, I already mentioned this, is we have a lot of templates for things like messaging and branding that's very specific to HR tech providers. That's going to be in the Institute platform as well. We also offer advisory services that's kind of like a study buddy, where you have somebody that's seen a lot, been there, and you want to say like, hey, what do you think of this? I'm moving in this direction. This is the strategy I put together. Maybe I filled out one of those templates on my go-to market strategy, and I want somebody else to review it. That's where our team comes in. We could help advise on those things. And then we have the unlimited ability to ask questions of our experts. So constantly asking for support and guidance, even if it's, I'd like to see what organizations in healthcare are doing versus organizations that are in manufacturing. Those types of things we can help provide. And then that first slide, one of the first slides that Mike showed was our network. If you want to pressure test some of your ideas and you want to talk to faculty, that's something that we can do that's very unique in the space, where we could put you in touch with corporate buyers to pressure test some of your new messaging and strategy. And then the other thing is we're going to do and offer you that industry recognition. So these are some of the components that go in behind the scenes. I mentioned these earlier, but I wanted to dive deep into Total Tech here. Total Tech is our platform for listing HR technology companies. So we have over 10,000 client engagements, and statistically, half of organizations that we're talking to are actively searching and trying to bring in a new technology partner. That's why we built Total Tech. It's where we tell organizations to go if they're looking for an organization, a solution provider. So you're going to get immediately in there with a premium placement on our site. And that's going to, of course, help you get more recognition. And then some of the sales growth opportunities, in addition to all of those leads that you're going to get in from things like the webinar, our podcast, the Brick event, the content we're going to build for you, that you can use to get leads. We're also going to provide you a couple of other items here. In addition to the Eminence program that we put out, we also have a very premium portfolio of other items that you can add on and do a little bit more. Maybe you want to do more blogs, maybe you want more white papers, maybe you want us to write some of those ebooks that you can use as lead magnets. You can always interact with us on that side. So I'm going to pause here, and maybe we can ask one last slide poll. Based on what Mike and I have talked about today, what would you like for next steps? That part I was just mentioning, we have lots of different ways you can engage with us. Maybe it's not Eminence. Maybe it is the Institute route, or maybe it's some of those one-off services. So if you would like some support on getting there, please answer this poll. And let's head in. I'm going to check for questions as well in the chat. Okay. Ivy, let's go on to the next slide. As we wait for questions, here's just 3 examples of some different size organizations, some different types of organizations that have worked with us on this Eminence strategy, a CEO at an organization, how we helped them get that Eminence factor, how we helped raise that level for them. This is one that we helped really find a new going in from Europe to coming into the US, breaking in on that side. You have a chief marketing officer aspect on how we help advise the group at BTS. And then also, looking more about brand, how we helped Atana with their brand. So any of these, this will all be sent to you after. Anything you want to double click in and ask us more questions about, we're happy to answer. We're also happy to provide some more examples of organizations we worked with previously. So I checked the chat. I didn't see anything. Mike, closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts. I mean, I think we covered a lot in 30 minutes. I'm very proud of the eminence program that we have. I love working with all our solution provider clients as well as our many, many, many corporate clients, and always looking to add value. We're always just a phone or an email or a text away. So please feel free to contact us, and we look forward to helping and supporting you.
All right. Thank you all. I hope you've learned a little bit about eminence and how you can gain that authority and close that gap. Hope everyone has a great day. Thank you.
Have a great day. Thank you.